Peace and power. Once again, this is Brother Psyche, and I'm coming at you with another build on strategies of manhood. Today's build is called The Art of War. Now, The Art of War is a book by Sun Tzu, one of my favorite books, actually. Here it is right here. One of my favorite books. This is a version of it is called A Modern Art of Warfare. It actually has two books in one. There's a guy, what's his name, Mark McNeely. He gives his modern day breakdown of the Art of War, which is a good breakdown to me, one of my favorite breakdowns, because there's a few of them. Mastering the Art of War, Modern Art of Warfare, things like this. Then at the end of the book, it gives you the original Art of War, the original translation of the Art of War, which I love this book. Peace to Brother War. Brother War is a brother of mine that first introduced me to the book, The Art of War. And he actually purchased this book for me and sent this to me years ago. I think he sent this book to me over 20 years ago. I was in prison. And I've said a few times on this channel that I did an enormous amount of time in prison. And he sent me this book back then. Matter of fact, it still has the unit that I was on the back of the book. But I love the book, because the book can be used for the battlefield, but it can be used for navigating the battlefield of life, and it can be used for navigating the boardroom in the business world. But today, I'm not going to give a breakdown of the book, The Art of War, but I'm going to give a breakdown of certain strategies, certain principles that have been learned in the book, The Art of War, that you can use to move in a room full of vultures. So if you about in any way understanding that life is war, and those who win have the better strategy, stay tuned, watch the video to the end. Hopefully subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let's build on it. When we're talking about personal strategy is to control your emotions. Now, what am I talking about? What am I saying? A lot of time when I tell people that you need to learn how to control your emotions, they'll think that I'm saying not to be human, not to have emotions. And I'm not saying that you're a human being, you have emotions. I'm saying don't be emotional. Don't allow yourself to be dictated by and controlled by your emotions, and allow your responses to events to happen because of your emotions. You got to understand that no outside event has an emotion attached to it. Your mind assigns emotions to that event based on repetitive action. Example, let's say certain actions took place over your lifetime, and every time this action took place, somebody pushed you in the back of the head. You knew that they did it in a way to disrespect you. So automatically, your brain is going to secrete a hormone called cortisol. It made you feel bad about the situation. And then what starts happening is that every time somebody pushes you on the back of the head, even when somebody's playing, you feel the same way. So when I say control your emotions, it's taking our time to ask yourself, what's going on? Why do I feel so bad about this? Why does this anger me? Why does this upset me? If you have those times. But one of the most important things to understand about controlling your emotions is that emotions cloud your judgment. They take away your ability to make sound and wise decisions. You have to be able to make decisions based off rationality and not emotion. Emotion will lead you astray. The emotion is good to feel, but you have to stop and ask yourself, what's the best move to make in this situation? A lot of times people make emotional moves and they usually end up hurting them in the long run. I'm gonna give you a story. I'm gonna break down two movies. Two of my favorite movies of all time, and at one time I loved gangster and mob movies, was Scarface and Godfather. In both movies, Al Pacino played the main character. In Godfather, he plays Michael Corleone, the Don of the Corleone family. And Scarface, he plays Tony Montana, the big time drug dealer. Tony Montana, if you've seen the movie, has a bad attitude, goes off, kill in a heartbeat. In Godfather, Michael Corleone is very calm. He's very controlled. He's very self-controlled. He's very, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. It'll come to me in a minute. But he's very self-controlled, very disciplined. And when I was a teenager and I saw these movies, I always thought that Scarface was stronger. He was more powerful than Michael Corleone. And now as an adult, I look back on these movies and I know that Michael Corleone is more powerful. There's a scene in The Godfather where Michael Corleone is sitting behind his desk and he's seeing men. Men are coming in, having meetings with him, asking for favors, because he's the Don. He controls a lot. And there's this particular senator that comes into the room, and the senator comes in to talk with Michael, and he tells him, man, I thought we were going to be able to talk alone. And Michael looked around the room. Looked at his soldiers. He said, I trust these men with my life, Senator. He said, you can speak in front of them. And he said, I'm not worried about me. He said, I'm worried about you. That's what the senator tells Michael. He said, because I'm supposed to speak to you in a way that a man in your position is not used to being talked to. Michael Corleone said, speak. So the senator said, I heard that you and the Corleone family are trying to move to Vegas, and you're trying to get one of the hotels out there, one of the casinos. He said, well, I'm on the casino gaming board. Now, I can't remember the numbers specifically, so I'm going to make these numbers up, but the points are still the same. He says, so if you really want that gaming license, I expect you to pay me $500. And Michael like, $500? He said, Senator, the license only costs $100. Why would I pay you more? And the senator went on to disrespect Mike. He said, because I intend to squeeze you. You and your greasy-haired family come to this country playing like you're legit, disrespecting our laws. I intend to squeeze you for everything you got. So, yeah, I'm going to give you a week to give me your answer. And then the senator turned to walk away. Michael, at this moment, I expected Al Pacino to act like Tony Montana and Scarface, because I saw Scarface before I saw Godfather. So I wanted to see that old Scarface. I thought he was going to blow up, pull out a gun, blow the senator's brains. I just knew he was going to go off. And, you know, I'm like, ooh, he was going to go off. This is the Don. He didn't disrespect the Don in front of all his soldiers. And Michael didn't. Michael didn't go off. Michael just sat back calmly. And he said, Senator, you can have my answer now if you like. And the senator turned around with a smug look on his face, thought he was fit to get what he wanted. And Michael told him nothing. He said, not even the regular price of the gaming license, which I'll expect you to pay out of your own pocket. And the senator laughed at Michael. He knew he had to be crazy, and the senator walked out of the room. Later in the movie, now I thought this was weak. I'm like, man, he just let this dude talk crazy to him? He supposed to show him what's up. So I thought this was weak on Michael's point. But in reality, Michael didn't respond the way I thought at that young age he should have responded, because Michael had true power. See, later on in the movie, spoiler alert if you ain't seen Godfather, later on in the movie, they go to a scene where the senator is at a whorehouse, sitting in a bed with a dead prostitute in it, with blood all over, and he got blood on his hands, and he's sitting there crying. And then Michael's brother, Tom Hagen, walks in, and he says, Senator, and Tom, I don't know what happened. Me and this girl, we were just playing, having drinks, and then all of a sudden, I passed out and I woke up and she's dead. I didn't do this, Tom, I promise. You know, the senator's scared to death. He's a senator, and he's in a whorehouse with a dead prostitute. And so Tom told him, he said, don't worry about it, Senator. My brother owns this house. He said, this girl has no family. We'll clean this up. We'll make this all go away for you, but you'll owe the family a favor. See, Michael didn't blow up because Michael already had a strategy set in place to deal with that senator. And usually that taught me a lesson. Usually we blow up and we don't control ourselves because we feel like we have no other option. The only power we have is an aggressive act. And that's the way Tony Montana used to act. And one of the things that you have to understand is that when we blow up, even if you kill people, usually this is basically a child with a grown man's strength. A petulant child throwing a temper tantrum. And Michael, through his humility, showed that where true power really manifests itself. So you have to be able to control your emotions. Next, you must learn to study people. You must learn to pay attention to people. And this is very hard. And the reason why this is hard, because human beings, I said this on another video, I can't remember which one. I tell you to watch it because I give a breakdown and explanation of why. But human beings by nature are selfish. We are selfish creatures. Think about it and think about why. The entire universe revolves around us. The entire universe revolves around us. And I see the world through my eyes. I smell it with my nose. I hear it with my ears. I feel it with my skin. I taste it with my tongue. So automatically, everything that's happening on the planet is being understood by me from my own perspective. And it's easy to think that we are the center of the universe. But this is what a wise man must do. A wise person must understand this, that the same thing that's true for me, what I just said, is true for everybody else on the planet. And if that's true, then I can't be the center of the universe, because everybody experiences reality from their own perspective. And when you learn to do that, you learn to get out of your own head for a minute. And that's how you study people. You got to get out of your own head and ask yourself, what do they need? What are they doing this for? What is the reason? One of the tools that I use for understanding people's actions is you got to understand that there are 5 major motives in life. At all times, at every amount of time, a person is either trying to survive, they're trying to feel loved and belonging, they're trying to have power, they're trying to have freedom, or they're trying to have fun. So a person is trying to survive, they're trying to belong to something else, whether it's a relationship, a gang, a political party, a church, whatever. They want to belong to something that makes them feel special. They want to have power. They want to be free, and they want to have fun. And if you understand that, every move that a person makes, all you have to do is ask yourself, which one of their 5 basic needs are they trying to fulfill at this very moment? Also, when you study people, I believe that you're supposed to study people the way you study a book. And I study a lot of books. I love to read. I study a lot of books. One of the first things that you must do, one of the ways that I read, is I read cover to cover. Every line in a book. I never go past a word that I don't know. If I go past a word that I do not really understand, I look the word up. That's why I always keep me a good dictionary. I look the word up and make sure I have a deep understanding of the word itself. I also compare books to other books. I showed y'all earlier I love The Art of War, but Art of War is not the only book I read. I read other books on strategy. Here's the Book of 5 Rings. Here's the Message to the Warriors. Here's the 48 Laws of Power. So I read all of these different books on strategy to compare and contrast the different works to see how the different authors went about dealing with the same subject. And see, that's how you study people. When you look at a person, you must listen to what they say. Read every line. Make sure that you understand the meanings of what they're saying. Define the words. Don't always put your own interpretation on it. If you don't understand what a person is saying, you ask them to clarify it. Tell them, can you explain that to me? Can you break that down? Can you reword that? To make sure that you got to learn how to use active listening. Stop listening. Most people do this. Most people listen to respond. Responding is not as important as understanding. You must listen to understand. Because one of the things about it, you know what you know already. So if you are talking, you're in a weak position. Let them talk and listen clearly so you can get a deeper understanding of what you're dealing with. Also, like I just said about comparing and contrasting different books, you compare them. See, the best people in the world that can lie, because most people can't lie well. And even when you're dealing with an accomplished lie, I always tell people that you cannot lie to a conscious man, because a conscious man is too aware of human behavior. A conscious man knows how to look at a person, and it ain't just looking for if they can maintain eye contact. It ain't just looking at facial expressions. It's almost every move that they make. One of the things that a person who understands human nature knows, when a person gets excited, their voice goes up a few octaves automatically. When a person gets angry, the voice starts to lower and it goes down automatically without them even trying. So you learn how to listen to tones of voice, to certain movements, all of these things. When a person is telling you a lie, they know they're lying to you. I don't care if they can maintain a straight eye contact. They know that they're telling you a lie. And deep in the back of their mind, they're hoping that the lie is good enough that you fall for it. And that hope will come across their face. All you have to do is pay attention. They know they're lying, and they're always going to leave you a tale to pick up on. Only people that can lie truly effectively without feeling anywhere about it is a sociopath. And they're a small piece of the society, a sociopath, a person that has no feelings and no empathy. But also when you're dealing with people, one thing about a person who has mastered lying and trickery, he cannot hide his reflection in the face of his friends. So you always look at a person, look at who he hang with, look at who his associates are, look at his mate, look at his family. When you go in his house, look at his bookshelf. What does this person like to watch? What kind of movies do they watch? Do they watch TV a lot? Look at these things. Are there hypocrisy in this person's life? Never tell them that you see them. But if a person on 1 minute likes to talk down on people who smoke, but every time you see them, they smoking a cigarette and they make an excuse, oh, I had a hard day at work or whatever, you know what you're dealing with. Study people the way that you study books. Number 3, I would say, is to reflect on every possible outcome. Never begin a thing until you've considered its end. See, you can mentally walk through a thing. A lot of times people make mistakes. I know I used to date a woman and she was magnificent at making this error. And I tried to teach her about this because this is dealing with making wise decisions and constructive thinking. This deals with this, and she lacked that because she wanted a particular consequence. She didn't want other consequences, but she would make moves without considering the consequences of her moves. And this always ended her in the worst possible position. This is why our relationship ended, because she constantly did things that completely went against me. And then once she did it, or these things were found out, she would be oblivious to why I was upset or why I didn't want to accept the things that she was doing. This is a person who is making moves without considering the end results of the moves that they're making. When you make a move, or before you make the move, when you're thinking of taking on on any kind of endeavor, you ask yourself, what are the pros and what are the cons? Does the risk outweigh the rewards, or do the rewards outweigh the risk? We used to do raffles when I was in prison. We used to do raffles. I'm not going to get into the full detail of how this stuff worked, but essentially you could get you 10 packs of cookies, and you can make you 100 square raffle, and you can make the 50 cent a square. So if you got 100 square raffle at 50 cent a square, it's basically you make $50. The 10 packs of cookies cost you $10. So essentially every person can put 50 cent on this raffle. They can put 50 cent on the raffle. 100 people can put 50 cent on the raffle to take a chance at winning a $10 value. To me, this is worth the risk and the reward. Now you have a 1 out of 100 chance of winning. If you buy 2, now you got a 2 out of 100 chance of winning. If you buy 4, you have a 4 out of 100 chance of winning, but you just spent $2. Now it makes no sense to buy all 100 squares, which will ensure that you win. But basically you just paid $50 for $10, for a $10 value, which is insane. It makes no sense to buy $10 worth of squares, because then you could just go buy the 10 packs of cookies yourself. And this is what I mean by never start an endeavor without considering its end result. You have to weigh the risk against the rewards. You look at the situation and say, man, I'm thinking about doing this. What could be the worst possible thing that could happen? What could be the best possible thing that can happen? Once you have these incidents in your own mind, then you have to make a decision, is it worth it? Because sometimes it just ain't worth it. So never, ever, ever make a move without considering how it may play out and if you're willing to deal with it. A brother that gave me the art of war, Brother War, he used to always say, you got to have a plan, a backup plan, and an escape plan. Next, I would say, take nothing personally. Never take anything personally. Never get defensive. If you do that, it'll be seen as weak. You'll be seen as, oh man, this old emotional lunatic, this old emotional basket case. Never do it. And a good strategist, here's the thing about when you're dealing with people that are good at strategy, people that understand everything that I'm breaking down in this video, the people that understand these principles, they'll be able to look at that and they'll know your soft spots. They'll know how to push you. They'll know how to maneuver you into action, because they'll know what you take personally. They'll know what you take offense at. They'll know how to guard you into action. And so therefore you want to never give anybody the puppet strings to your behavior, because that's literally what that is when you steady act out and take just about every move personally. Take it all as it's actions against you. Because one of the things you have to understand is, in reality, you're probably not that important to another person. That person did not get up this morning to take you out the game. It's not that serious. So you don't have to take everything personally. If you do, don't let everybody know. Never attempt to uplift yourself by putting other people down. You'll do nothing but create enemies if you do that. Never attempt to uplift yourself by putting other people down. The whole time you'll produce enemies. You'll create enemies. And a lot of times what it end up happening is a group of weaker people or people that you put down will come together in a conglomerate, will come together in a congress with each other to start work against eliminating you. It can happen at the job place. If you done went around and told on a lot of people, snitched on a lot of people, lied on a bunch of people, sooner or later those people are gonna start comparing notes. And then you're gonna have 10, 15, 20 people that all hate you because you've been uplifting yourself by putting them down. Don't talk down on another person to make yourself feel bigger. In the process of doing this, you'll be producing enemies. And if you produce enough enemies, it's no problem with them eliminating you, coming together to move you off the board. Never uplift yourself by putting other people down. There's I ain't even gonna tell that story because it's another prison story. It's not time for that. But understand the principle. Never uplift yourself by putting others down. Uplift yourself by putting in the work. Next is give to disarm. You can always give to people to disarm them. Now, I learned this from a book called 33 Strategies. It's an old Chinese strategy book. I don't have that book. I read it years ago though. And that principle was very, very powerful to me. I used it. When I was in prison, at least in Texas, store day comes once a week. You're able to go to commissary, buy your little goods. And back then, when I first got incarcerated, a cookie cone would cost 25 cents. So, you know, part of the ritual is when you go to the store, if you have money and your friends don't, you might buy 10 cookie cones. That's just $2.50. And you take those cookie cones and you pass them out to your partners. So that's one of the things you do. Well, I had a dude that essentially hated me. I didn't know the man personally. He was just envious. And he used to talk down on me, talk about me. And not around me, not to my face, but behind my back, you know. And other people would bring this to me and tell me this. So what I did was, he didn't know I knew. So what I did is I went and bought him a paint of ice cream. Now the paint costs $1.50. That's like the special thing in prison. But I bought a paint. And as I was passing out these cookie cones, I walked up to him. He was playing dominoes and I gave him a paint. I just gave him a paint of ice cream. And he was shocked. You know, he was shocked. And he was like, man, what was that for? I said, I ain't never seen nobody give you no ice cream. So I got you ice cream. Now this served two purposes. This served two purposes. And first, it disarmed him because I did a quote unquote good act to him. And it made him feel foolish and stupid for where he talked about me. Second, it made him look bad in front of everybody else because they all knew that he had been talking about me. But here it was, I was doing a good act for him. It's like the wise teacher and master builder Jesus that y'all call the Christ. He said, I can't remember the quote, so I'm paraphrasing, but he said, you do good acts to those who hate you. It's like heaping hot coals on their head. And that's what happened to him. After that, this dude loved me to death. This dude was like my best friend. People couldn't talk about me without him going to battle behind it. But the whole point is, you give in order to disarm your enemies. Last but not least is you have to learn to pick and choose your battles. And you know, this is this principle I had to learn firsthand through my own mistakes in life. Matter of fact, the thing that sent me to prison. You know, one of the things I learned is that all battles are not worth the cost of fighting. And think about what that means. Sometimes the battle costs too much. It's called a Pyrrhic victory. Perfect example. If you ever seen the movie Book of Eli with Denzel Washington, the guy, I can't remember the name of the actor, but the antagonist in the movie, the guy that runs the city when Eli gets there, he wants the book because he believes that once he gets that book will allow him to have control over all the people in the city. So he stops at nothing to get that book. Matter of fact, he goes to such lengths that he go on the road, he lose half his men, Eli end up killing most of his soldiers, he gets shot himself, so he ends up sick. By the time he gets back with the book, his town is in disarray because he has no soldiers anymore. He's sick because of the bullet wound and dying, and then he can't even read the book because the book is in Braille. So he can't even read the book. He won, he killed Denzel, and he got the book. But it was all for nothing. It cost him too much. So that victory was really a failure. It cost too much. You know, and sometimes some battles are not worth the price of fighting. You have to look at it and ask yourself, what am I getting out of this battle? And what am I willing to sacrifice in order to win it? Sometimes it's been the best thing that you could possibly do in some battles is to walk away because they are not worth the price of fighting. Now, these are just some of the principles that I wanted to build on when dealing with strategy in the art of war, to give a man the tools needed to move in a room full of vultures. If you liked it, let me know in the comments. Leave me a thumbs up. If you liked it, I have some more that I can build on. Matter of fact, I can go through the whole book, Art of War, principle by principle. I can go through the whole 48 Laws of Power, principle by principle, break them down, build on them, explain them, and put them in a modern day context if it's needed and if people want it. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I hope somebody learned something from these points. Until next time, peace and power.